Chris Opdyke, show number 4. We have in with us today Alexa Stimp, owner, operator at The Shoe Fairy. Alexa, thank you so much for coming in today. I appreciate it.
Of course. Thank you for having me.
I said this a little bit earlier when we were talking. I just want everybody out there to know how much I appreciate our guests coming in because they're doing me the favor, right, by coming in and letting us have a show. I know you're extremely busy. Scott Gooddale's busy. BJ Young's busy. Corey Weissman busy. So I just want to let you know how much I appreciate you actually coming in the studio today. Entrepreneur, have your own business. You started doing some NPC, like fitness bikini competitions, and you realized that there was companies out there doing bikinis, there's companies out there doing jewelry, and then you realized nobody was doing shoes. So how did that kind of come about?
Back in 2015, I competed in my first bikini competition, which is in the bodybuilding industry. So typically when people hear bodybuilding, they think really jacked and masculine and everything like that, but actually it's an industry that's really booming for females. So they created the bikini category, which is basically where the sparkly bikinis, jewelry, and clear high heels. It's specific heels. You cannot go on stage in just any heel. You can't grab your heels from your closet and just go on stage. So when I competed, fitness is kind of what started everything because doing this show was really, really hard. What people don't realize is you have to get to an extremely low body fat percentage. And in order to do that, it's a lot of discipline. A lot of discipline. So throughout that whole time period, I realized, wow, I could do things that I didn't think I could do before. And that's when my whole mentality started changing. I started listening to motivational speakers like Eric Thomas. He was my favorite. So I would just listen to him for hours on end, and it just got my mind turning in a different way. And I used to sit in my cubicle and I would think, man, doing this for the rest of my life would be a nightmare.
Right.
And I was like, I just want to do my own thing. I want it to be in the fitness industry, but what? And I think that a lot of people get stuck right here. They want to do something, but they don't know what. And that is the hardest thing. It took me months for the idea to finally click in my mind. So one day I'm sitting at my desk. It actually, ironically, the day I had the idea was just 2 days after my grandfather passed. And I was very, very close with my grandpa. And throughout the time when he was sick was when I was going through this period of I want to do my own thing. So I always say that I swear that after he passed, he gifted me the idea. Because it was so weird. I'm scrolling on Instagram and then boom, the idea popped. The name, the website, I took out a piece of paper, I drew the website on a paper, and I had my whole idea, everything. And the reason why I came to it was because I realized that there was a lot of companies for the bikinis, a lot of companies for the jewelry, but no one was known on social media for the shoes.
So where did you guys go get shoes before there was the Shoe Fairy?
I got mine on Amazon. So Amazon is kind of like the big time, they're my competition. Amazon sells them. Other than that, it's really very strange websites, stripper websites, pretty much.
So you're sitting in that kind of cubicle, that 9 to 5. You get the idea. You still had to pay bills.
Yeah.
But you're starting to do that. When did you have the idea sitting in the cubicle, and then it went to concept? It actually you started working towards the Shoe Fairy.
That day.
That day.
That day, and every single day since.
Every single day since.
Mm-hmm.
Starting the company, right? So you really don't have the business background.
No.
You never had a business before. How did you kind of learn what you needed to do to start to kind of where you are today?
Just from Google, to be honest. So I had this idea, and I said, okay, so what do I need to do? And I started Googling. So it tells you in the state of New Jersey you have to go, and I think at that point a lot of people they get so overwhelmed. They're like, I need an LLC, I don't know, all these things.
I need insurance. I need office space.
Yeah, no, you don't. I did not even have an LLC. I started as a sole proprietor, so it was basically you have a DBA, doing business as. So the business was technically Alexa Stimp, DBA, the Shoe Fairy. And that was the cheapest route at that point. I had to go to the Ocean County clerk's office or something, and you basically have to establish the business. You get your EIN number, and then I went to the bank with that information, and I opened up the business bank account. And So there you go. Boom. You have a business. You have an EIN. You can start doing things. So, then I went to Google. I'm like, all right. So, I did this little legal aspect. Now I need the shoes. Where the hell am I going to get the shoes? So I originally started thinking China, and I went on Alibaba, which is where you can, source all the suppliers. Got a couple samples. It was atrocious. And then throughout my Google searching, I found one of the main wholesalers. And then that's when I learned, oh wow, so I can just buy this brand at wholesale cost and retail it. So that's really how it started.
When you were trying to start that, what were some of hurdles you had going on that you really didn't expect to pop up, that you had to kind of jump over to start getting shoes, to start the business, to start selling shoes to other girls in doing the shows?
I just didn't have an actual plan to start. That was it. It was all just about figuring it out. So once, basically, I was living with my parents, and I got my first shipment of shoes in. Oh, this is funny. This brings back a memory. So I called the company that I buy the shoes wholesale at to get an account. You have to be an established business with the EIN, like I told you, that I just got to get your account. So he says to me, I guess he could tell that I didn't really know what I was talking about. And he said, where do you get your shoes from now? I said, nowhere. That's why I'm on the phone with you, because I need shoes. And he's like, oh, sorry, we actually only sell we only sell to companies that have a physical storefront, not just online. And he was like, plus, our minimum is $500. As if I couldn't spend that. When I was about to spend $3,000. So I was like, oh, that's a shame. I was about to spend $3,000 on my first order. And so his mood switched like that, and he goes, oh.
His tone changed a little bit?
Oh, well, let me check with my manager, and maybe we can just, for the first order, let it go through. And I wanted to be like, yeah.
Not anymore.
A-hole.
Yeah.
But, the biggest hurdle was just figuring out how to start.
When you were telling other people out there, like, yeah, I'm going to kind of start my own shoe company, and hopefully it gets me away from my 9 to 5, were some people doubting it, like, oh, Alexa's crazy?
I didn't tell anyone.
You didn't tell anybody?
No.
You didn't tell. I think that's probably the best piece of advice you could give anybody out there, is when you start doing stuff like that, is just keep it quiet and do your thing. Mm-hmm. Well, then let me change my question. And how about when it got out there and people realized you were doing the shoe thing? Were there some people out there like, oh, she's just nuts?
I didn't talk about it to people for the longest time, actually. But when I had to quit my job, I did speak to some of my close coworkers, and they knew why I was leaving. Maybe people thought I was crazy behind my back, but I don't know. I think I was pretty convincing. I feel as though a lot of people believed in me.
Yeah, well, that's good. That's good, because I always feel like when people say they're going to do stuff like that, you always have that little kind of person in your ear saying, you can't do that. You got to stay your 9 to 5. You got a paycheck coming in every week. You can't start your own business.
Yeah.
And you just were like, nope, I'm just going to go do my thing.
Honestly, I may have gotten that. I just don't even remember, because I probably blocked it out.
That's good. So when you got that first shipment in, it was basically just a phone call over the phone. You called, you found the supplier, and they placed that order for you.
Yep, so I did it online and had a bunch of boxes come to my parents' house. I have pictures of it still.
Did you do the full $3,000 order after you kind of made that $500 comment to you?
Yeah.
So when you started designing your own shoes and you had that shipment come over and they were kind of wrong, right? And you were like, oh my goodness, I just had this X amount of shoes come in and they got messed up. The heat messed them up in the shipment? Is that what happened?
It was quite a few other factors, but this shipment is a completely different story than beginning. So to backtrack, the shipment that you're speaking about took me 14 months of developing overseas, prototyping, sampling. That's a whole other story. So when you're going to actually create your own shoe from scratch, you have to start in the prototype phase, where they send you a wooden shoe. You have to give every single measurement down to very little centimeter. I mean, it's a really big project. So I decided that I did not want to buy wholesale anymore. My main goal moving forward is I want to create something that's different. And how it's going to be different is it's going to be a lot better. So the shoes that are currently on the market in the industry I sell in have a lot of flaws to them. And it's my mission to create a shoe that's going to fix all of those issues. And it's going to be basically the perfect shoe, the first shoe created for the bodybuilding industry. Mm-hmm. The very first shoe created specifically for this industry. So I embarked on that mission almost 2 years ago. I still don't have the shoe to sell. So I was hit with a lot of adversity when, after 14 months of developing and everything, I finally get my first production. And yes, I realized that I could not sell them because they had some issues and some flaws.
So you're 14 months in the making. You get your shoes and you realize you can't sell them. I would think that any other entrepreneur out there waiting on that shoe, that's the straw that breaks the camel's back. They're done from there. What was your mindset going into that, saying, I just got this shoe, I've been working on it for a year and 2 months, and it's wrong and I can't use it?
And this is already over 2 years in business too.
Right.
When that happened, I was really pissed, to be honest.
Yeah, sure.
But it was more so like right away my mind switched to, like, what am I going to do? So what am I going to do to get over this, and what am I going to do to move forward?
So what did you do to get over it, and what did you do to move forward?
Well, it took about a 2 to 3 week span to prove everything to the supplier so that they could actually see everything that was wrong. So I had to do a lot of different pictures and measurements, and they had a lot of meetings on their end. It was a lot of back and forth. So my supplier said that they were going to find a different factory to use and fix the issue. They were going to take care of all the costs and everything on them. So a couple months, this whole process, they were sending me new samples. I was still very unhappy with them, and I felt as though we were going backwards. Mm-hmm. So I kind of freaked out. And they had another meeting, and they decided that they wanted to throw the towel in, and they sent me all my money back. So thank God, but now here we are, like almost a year and a half in, and
you have nothing still.
Nothing. But throughout this time period, I was already having it with them, and I started looking for someone else. So that is actually when I met my new supplier. She ironically was traveling in New York at the time, so she came over to my office. We had a meeting, and I started doing the development process with them. So I already found someone else. I already replaced them before they even quit, and I started moving forward with someone new.
So how'd you find that new person?
On Google.
So it's just, so out there for people that are listening, if they want to do something, it's out there. It's a simple Google search.
You know what? It's 2019. You can find out how to do everything.
Yeah.
Everything.
Talk about some of like just day-to-day operations. I'm sure at your office, no day is typical, right? It's not a 9 to 5 and you punch in and punch out because you're the owner, right? Mm-hmm. So talk about a little bit, maybe on like a daily, every other day, kind of what goes on in your office, what time you go in, what time you're there till. And I know you're probably still doing stuff at home on the laptop, mm-hmm. right? You're always on social. So talk a little bit. I know it's not that 9 to 5. You work for 4 hours, you do lunch, you take a 15-minute break, you do another water cooler break. 5 o'clock, you punch the clock and you're out of there. When it's your business, it's a little bit different. So talk a little bit about how you run your day-to-day. And I know each day is different, but just kind of what goes on.
So the main thing that always needs to get done is the orders. So when you have an online business, sure, you can make money while you sleep, meaning the orders always come in. They don't stop. But that means you always have to be there to ship them out. So that's where actually now I have an employee, and her main function is to handle the orders, handle the returns, customer inquiries, everything relating to the online store and the order process. So I have been in the process of training her. She's one of my newer employees. And when, people think, oh, it's so awesome, you get employees, you don't have to do anything. Well, who trains them?
Yeah. Everything, right?
Who orchestrates everything?
Right.
So that takes up a lot of the time also, but now she's doing really, really well on her own. So I oversee and handle everything else. So when you are the owner of a small business and you don't have a whole team, you kind of have to wear every single hat. So even though I have a marketing team who handles my email blasts and different things, I still have to orchestrate and put together everything.
The blast, right?
If they need the content, they need the content for it. Well, who has to take the content? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Even if I'm hiring someone like my videographer to do content, well, who's putting everything together? Who's getting the girls together? Who's planning everything? Mm-hmm. So that's what people don't realize, that every little thing that happens, I still have to orchestrate every little thing. Even everything with my web development. So every day kind of differs as far as what I'm doing. Like right now, for example, we have an athlete search going on. It's called the Angel Search. So all of those applications and everything, I'm reading through every application, responding to every single person. It's tax time. Who's handling, you know what I mean? So I'm getting together everything for the taxes and the W-2 because this was my first year having employees on the books. So many different, there's a lot of different things that go into it.
You're like 3 years in right now, right? Mm-hmm. And I think things are probably going pretty well for the Shoe Fairy, yeah?
It's growing.
It's
It's
growing.
nowhere near where I want it to
It's
be.
not where you want it to be, but
Some may say well, but
I think it's probably going pretty well. What are some of the things that you attribute the success to, and kind of who's been your biggest help along the way?
I attribute the success to consistency every single day, putting the work in. Because if you don't, there could be someone out there who is, and you just always have to work hard. And that's, I don't know, I feel like that's what a lot of people don't think. Like,
They think you just kind of hang out at the office all day and sell
yeah,
shoes.
you know, and it's a lot of sacrifice too. And
We'll talk about that a little bit. Like, what are you sacrificing? Because I don't think, like you said,
paying myself,
Right.
time with friends, going out.
Mhm.
You know what I mean? People think, oh, you have a business, you have a lot of money. It's so wrong.
yeah,
If you are growing a business, well, where is that money coming from? You know what I mean? Trust me, I don't have a rich family. I have a lot of student loans and a lot of bills, and all the money that comes in, I like to flow it back into the
you
business.
got to feed the monster a little bit.
Of course, yeah,
Mhm.
because that's how it grows. So that's a huge sacrifice and just time. But to me, it doesn't feel that way. Simply because I love what I do. So I prefer to do what I'm doing every single day than to just go out and drink or something stupid. That gives me anxiety almost.
Yeah. So you mentioned a little bit before, now you have your own manufacturer, and you went and visited the factory in China, and you were there for a couple of days. So talk a lot about going to the manufacturer, kind of from that first day you're in China, meeting with them until you left and you had that, what you think is the perfect shoe for the fitness industry.
So we had a lot of the development already done. I already had the concept done from my previous production. We just needed to fix some things, and I already knew, okay, these are actually all the things that I want to change. So I did a lot of the work with them previously before I went there. So we already had the molds established. We already had a lot of the groundwork done. What I wanted to change was materials with the insole, the foam underneath the shoe, the actual outer material. I wanted to change some cosmetic things. So in order to do that, it's so much easier to be there. I was able to go to the markets and actually look at all the materials. Otherwise, I would have never known what's actually available out there.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? And then a big issue is when you have a 5-inch heel, it's pretty high.
Yeah, it sounds pretty high.
A problem for females is that their foot slides forward in the shoe rather than staying put. So it was our mission while we were out there trying to figure out what we need to do to get that to not happen. So we're actually going to be creating our own custom high heel inserts. That's something else that I was working on while I was out there, as well as the packaging, because we're going to be changing the packaging. So I was at the box factory. Everything was hands-on, so that when it's time to start the production, it's all good.
Everything's ready to go.
It's good. Yep.
So you're going to be doing an insert also for people who use a non-Shoe Fairy shoe? Is that what you're going to be doing with that?
It could be for any heel, but it's actually fit to go in the inseam of the insole so that you know where to place it in my shoe. You don't need it. It's something additional. The thing with shoes is that everyone's foot is so different. It's not like this baggy sweatshirt I'm wearing. This could fit anyone. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
The heel, it's so complex with feet. So that's why we're creating a high heel insert also, because it's such a steep high heel that what we are creating was actually an idea from a podiatrist that I met with. And it takes the weight off of the ball of your foot. So that's going to be something that you can put in my heels or any heel.
So talk a little bit then about your shoe. You were over there at the factory with the manufacturer, and just tell everybody about your shoe so the listeners at home, if they're looking to buy a shoe, right, for the competition, why is your shoe going to be perfect?
It has almost like a memory foam insole, so it's just the insole alone. When you put your foot in it, it's really, really comfortable. The posing heels themselves have a plastic foot strap, which the ones on the market right now, I wish I had one in front of me so I could show you. The plastic itself is hard as a rock. So when you go to put your foot in, it hurts. It's horrible. And God forbid you have a wide foot, forget it.
Yeah.
Because the way that they design the shoes on the market are very narrow. So what happens is your toes get crammed into this hard plastic, and there's not enough space in the front. So some people's toes hang off the edge, and it's terrible.
Mm-hmm.
And that's why I would see people tag me in pictures on Instagram, and I'd be like, oh gosh, I need to create a solution for this. So my heel has a wider footbed. It's more the shape of an actual foot. The plastic is super, super, super soft. It's tan resistant. So when you step on stage, you have to wear a really dark spray tan, and that stains the heels. So for this shoe, it's actually tan resistant as well.
All right, so you're making the perfect shoe out there for somebody who's in the fitness industry doing shows. So if you're looking for your shoe, talk a little bit about your social and maybe, plug all those. So if people are looking for the shoe, they can find you on your social. They can find the Shoe Fairy and theshoefairy.com.
The website is shoefairyofficial.com. The Instagram is at theshoefairy_. Facebook is at shoefairyofficial. And then we have YouTube also, but
so you are
mainly
doing
those.
YouTube as well.
Mm-hmm.
All right, that's great. So we talked a little bit earlier about you're actually doing it. So talk a little bit, and you said this. Some advice that you give to some people that are out there that are, looking to start their business and help them out along the way. Because I'm sure there's people out there listening that were like you, sitting in that QB, right? They're sitting in the cubby and working their 9 to 5, and they're like, I hate it here, but I just don't want to take that leap. So talk a little bit about, doing it and making some people out there go, you know what, Alexa's right, I'm going to get rid of this, or I'm going to start my side hustle a little bit.
Start and do something.
Yeah.
People get caught up in their head, and then that's it. And it drives me nuts when they talk to me as, well, what have you done? And they'll harp on this idea for months.
Mm-hmm.
Just start and put something out there.
Yeah.
I mean, I had the idea, and literally my website and everything, everything launched within a month and a half. It doesn't have to be so perfect. It's like people have an arrow and they want to keep aiming and aiming and aiming and aiming. Just shoot. You could fix your aim later.
Yeah.
And I think that's the biggest thing is to stop getting so caught up in your head and go on Google. You can find so much, and just reach out to other people. That's the best thing you can do too. That's what I did throughout my journey. Is I would just try to reach out to anyone just to try to talk to people who understood business to try and get some advice.
Yeah. Now you just said from the time you started thinking about it, it took you about a month and a half or so. So then telling people, like, when are you working to do that? You're obviously doing it after your 9 to 5 in the mornings on your lunch break. What? So when are you doing?
In my cubicle.
Yeah, in your cubicle during work. Don't tell the boss, kind of thing. So talk about that a little bit, like, because I think too, like you said, everybody thinks it's easy, but in the beginning stages when you're still working your 40-hour-a-week job. Like Gary Vee says, he's working his, 7 p.m. to 2 a.m. So talk a little bit about when you were doing your PSE&G job, and then how you were doing your Shoe Fairy thing kind of on the side.
So I did both. I started PSE&G at 6:30 in the morning, actually. I had a far commute. It was a little over an hour. And so I started so early to avoid the traffic. So I was up at 4 something in the morning. I would get to work. I would work at my old job on this idea, and then I would drive home, and I would work at home the whole night. And I did that for a couple months until I was able to take the leap. And a lot of people say, oh, I can't just quit my job. Okay, I didn't either.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? Like, trust me, I don't want to hear, I have $900 a month in student loans. I don't want to hear anyone's excuses. Oh, you have a $200 car payment? Like, cry me a river.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? You have to just do both and struggle. I cried some nights because I'd be so tired. Like, it's hard. I hated life. I wasn't in the gym. You have to sacrifice yourself a lot, and that's the thing. You have to sacrifice the things that you like doing for you.
Mm-hmm.
Not forever.
But for a period of time.
But for a period of time to get you to where you want to go.
Yeah, I think people don't understand. Like, even me doing this little thing here, getting you in today was, probably 6 months of us typing back and forth on Instagram, direct messenger. When you're available, I'm going to China, or let's talk about it when you get back from China. All that kind of stuff. I don't think people think everything's kind of like a sprint, right? And it's not that marathon. And you, in 6 weeks or so, working on your side hustle, were able to kind of get it up and going, and then almost ready to take that leap of quitting your 9 to 5 and doing Shoe Fairy full time. Is there anything else out there, kind of before we get out of here, that you want to talk about, that you'd like to tell the people out there listening to? That, like I said, I just really want those people that are sitting at home on their hands wanting to get up but are afraid to really take that leap, and maybe you can help them do that.
The most important thing is they need to believe in themselves. They need to believe in what they're doing, and they need to have a very clear vision of what they're doing and the goal. If you don't have those things, it's not going to happen. You can't be, if you're unsure it's just not going to happen. You have to have like this unwavering faith in your vision and in yourself to make it happen, and that's what's going to push you to do it. So I think the first thing is have your vision. You know, if you don't know exactly where you're going, well then you're going to get anywhere.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So I think that that's also a big hurdle for people, is that they don't really know. So just take some time. Take some time to yourself to really think about it and think about what's your idea. What is it who do you want to become? What do you want to become?
Yeah.
And plan out your vision first. And then once you see that vision and you feel it in your bones, that's all you need.
That's what you need to go on.
Where do you see the Shoe Fairy? You're planning on that new shoe landing here this summer, correct?
I'm estimating the summer, yeah.
This summer. So where do you see the Shoe Fairy like 3 to 5 years?
I'm going to be fully manufacturing my shoes. So right now I have so many styles of shoes on my website, all of which are, the wholesale retail game. Everything in 3 to 5 years is going to be completely all my brand. So it's going to be all shoes manufactured, my own style, exactly how I want them. Everything's going to be very comfortable. But what I want to do is take these amazing features that I'm creating and put them in regular, everyday fashion heels as well.
So you're looking to also get outside of just that competition shoe. You're looking to do things in other like heels or
Yes.
sneakers.
I don't know.
You don't know yet. So you're just looking for the heel now. Anything else you want to say before we get out of here tonight?
I think we covered a lot.
Yeah, I think we covered it all. Guys, check her out. Alexa Stimp, the Shoe Fairy. Go check her out on Instagram. Check her out on her website. Girls out there, if you're looking for shoes, doing competitions, check her out. It's great. Alexa, thank you so much for coming in tonight. I appreciate your time.
Thank you for having me.
All right, we're out of here.